1, 2. Hey guys, how you all doing? Just waiting on a few more people to come on. Happy Wednesday, or whatever day it is. It's Tuesday. Right, so. Hey guys. So today, because all the kind of madness goes back to normal next week, normal-ish, I'm going to go to doing one a month of these things. And so I thought I'd kind of go out with a bit of a bang. And so, yeah, it'll probably be like the first week of every month or something like that. I'm not sure how I'm going to work it yet. But, yeah, so I'm still going to keep the Accepting Behaviour channel going. It's just work is going to get a bit mad next week. So, yeah, I need to kind of watch I don't burn myself out. Hello everyone. Oh, hey Jax, how you doing? No singing today. Right then, so we're going to talk about acceptance, and I've called today, so what's all this acceptance stuff about then? So I talk about acceptance a lot, and I still feel that it is something that I'm always going to talk about. I'm always going to be a believer of, because I think that it's just, for me, it just works massively more than anything else that I ever use when I work with children with autism in my family, and also, you know, in schools that I work in and stuff. So let's have a look at what it is then. So I want to talk about it a little bit more today for you. Okay, so the Oxford Dictionary defines acceptance as the quality of being willing to accept an unpleasant or difficult situation. So it's not an easy thing to do. So when I'm talking about acceptance, you know, it's not, I'll just let people do what they want. It's fine. They've got autism. It's okay. Let them get away with everything and do what they want. No, it's completely not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it's more, it's an act or a practical thing that you do when you accept something. I struggle every day. Today has been a really difficult day for me to accept my own isms and things I'm going through today. And you know, it's not easy. But the more you do it, the more the acceptance becomes a part of you. And you really do start to look at things differently. And I'm not really going to go into kind of too much, you know, from a scientific point of view. But one thing I want you to know about when you apply practical acceptance, you undergo what's called like a transformation, and the structures of your brain literally will change. And what we know about in science is that the neurons and networks are formed, and we now know with brain plasticity that this doesn't just happen in children, this happens in us as well. So when you start to practically apply acceptance, things in your brain start to change, and I just think it's really powerful. So here's what I want to do. Here's the big, not argument, but the big kind of, oh yeah, but this is the big but, okay, and it's based around traditional approaches to behaviour. All right, and I was thinking, do I talk about teaching or education? I just thought, no, let's just I'm going to stick it to families tonight, okay? So there is this, isn't there? There's the traditional family parenting style program, whatever you want to call it. And we all know of this. We're all, most of us, you know, if you're past your 30s and you know the traditional family approach to raising kids, you know, the view is that you as a parent, it's to teach your child to learn the rules, to respect others, to be polite, to be an upstanding citizen and be part of society. And I'm not saying anything of this is bad. I'm just saying that, you know, we're in the world of autism, and I find that a lot of traditional parenting programming, even in schools as well, just doesn't work. Some of you might agree, some of you might not agree. So let's look at traditional fares. So well, you got to go to school and buckle down. That's a traditional family approach. You got to look at a person when you're being spoken to. You're going to sit at a table when you eat family meals because that's polite. Don't be rude. Don't not sit at a table. Don't answer back when a parent's talking to you or an old person's speaking to you about something. Don't answer back if you disagree. You will respect your parents, obviously loving parents. Consequences for your actions. If you do something bad, you're going to be punished, and you'll go to bed when you're told. That is, I'm sure you guys can come up and think of some different kind of traditional parenting approaches, right? But that's in general what it is. Now here's my firm belief, and anyone who's watching this, if you're on and you've got a child with autism and you're trying to apply the traditional approach to their behaviors, and anything really, I just need you to know it doesn't work, all right? And if I was you, just put it down, even just for a few months or a few weeks, and apply acceptance. All right, and I'm going to show you now. We're going to look at some examples of acceptance versus the traditional approach. So I want to kind of look at some clear examples, some common examples of why I believe and why I think it works. Why when you are in a situation where your child is misbehaving or being a pain, okay, why the traditional approach just isn't going to work for them, and why acceptance can be harder to do practically, but it's much more powerful, much more beneficial. So let's look at an example, and there's loads of them, and I was just thinking, my head's not all there today, but I thought, okay, so let's think of some common things, right? So here's one. A child has a meltdown in a shop. He constantly asks for things and stamps his feet. He's always running around and not listening. I've had experience with this with Cameron when he was younger, and we see it all the time, don't you? And we used to get some right funny looks in the shops when Cameron's having a meltdown. And when I was a young parent, and you see a kid throwing themselves on the floor, you do just think, oh God, sort your kid out, man. But I don't anymore, because I know that there's a lot more to it. And let's look at the traditional approach to this, okay? So you tell them off. Tell the off. You can tell I was tired when I wrote these. You would discipline them. You would refuse to give in to their demand, because the traditional approach would be, well, I'm not just going to give him those chocolate biscuits because that's just spoiling him. That's giving him what he wants. And if he's kicking off, in the shop, and I want, and he's screaming, and everyone's looking at you. The traditional natural response is to just have a go at them, isn't it? And tell them off, and take them to the car and say, I'm not having you. You're going straight to bed when you get home. All the kind of stuff that you would see, right? So, and again, we're talking autism here, and I never really look at kids now that are struggling in the public eye. If I'm out and about and I see a kid, I never judge them, because I just think there's definitely always something else going on in my eyes. Now, the accepting view is you would practically start to think, well, it's not their fault, they can't help it. And then the more you start practicing this thought process, so your kids throwing themselves on the floor, you don't think you've got to tell them off, you've got to discipline them, you've got to be a firmer parent. You start to think, oh, they can't help it because I'm going to accept it. They're throwing themselves on the floor. Yes, I'm getting funny looks from everyone, but I'm going to accept them practically. And this is what I mean by how hard it is, because it's not an easy thing to do. It's just letting them do it. You're not doing that. You're actually dealing with it actually a lot more than if you were to just tell them off and shout at them and send them to bed when they get home, because a lot of you would agree that doesn't work. So his meltdown is becoming everything is too much, right? This is what you'd start to think. You'd start to think, well, maybe he's having a sensory overload. Maybe he wants things because he's trying to distract himself, because he actually can't cope with this anxious feeling, and he doesn't realise what's going on in his little head. We had this with my son Cameron, and he would, and I'll speak about this, but I'll speak about it again just as an example, that he whenever he saw raw meat in Sainsbury's or in the shops, he would just throw himself on the floor. And I remember one night he ran down the aisle screaming at the top of his voice. You could hear him all through Sainsbury's. And he just hid in the Coke bottles, and they were all, the plastic Coke bottles, and he'd kick them all off, and he'd hid in the pallet. Thankfully, the security guard could see there was something else going on there, but we got, not told off, but we had to deal with it. And it was on that very moment, we went down the traditional route. We'll come back tomorrow because we've got to teach him to have independent skills, and he's got to learn to go shopping, hasn't he? He's got to learn to do that. And we soon realised that it doesn't work, especially when we took him back, and it happened again, and then his behaviour started getting worse. And when he knew he was going to Sainsbury's, he couldn't cope. He was having these overloading thoughts, so through acceptance of what's going on. It's not about us being better parents at all, because it just isn't. We just did this. We stopped taking him shopping, because when you stop taking a child who can't cope with shopping, you're removing the stress. You're accepting the social situation is too much for them. That is the difference between acceptance and the traditional view. You can try the traditional view, and if there's any young parents out here, go through your journey yourself. But if just give the acceptance thing a go. If the traditional stuff isn't working, if you're being strict and you're trying to give them structure and teach them how to cope with things, just maybe if it doesn't work, try and step back and think, I wonder if this accepting thing does work. Because the reason, and I say it all the time, the reason about accepting children with autism, or autistic children, or however you want to say it, it's not their fault. They can't help it. And if you have that as a mantra in your head, you and your partner or whoever is in your family, it is not their fault, and also it's not your fault, then you stop trying to discipline or teach it out of them, or help them to be more sage, because there's nothing wrong with your kids, nothing wrong with them. And I don't actually care if anyone disagrees, because there isn't anything wrong with them. Right, let's have another look at another example. Right, number 2. This one's going to be interesting, and I do care if you disagree. Sorry, I don't know why I said that. I'm quite tired. But I'm just completely and utterly adamant that autism is not our children's fault. Anyway, your child stays in their room and doesn't clean up or pick up after them. I'm sure some of you have experienced that. So what's the traditional approach? Well, tidy your room. If you don't, you're not going to get iPad or your favourite food, whatever it is. We've all been there. I did this with Cameron, in the early days. You need to teach them to independent skills, and you just can't pick up after them. You just can't do it. When I was a kid, I had quite a noisy brain, and I was very messy in my room. And I always remember, I would be sitting in my living room, I don't know, with my feet in the air and watching TV, and I'd eat an orange or a fruit, and I'd just stick it on the side, and then I'd go off and run in the garden. I never ever thought, Mum will pick that up, I don't care. My brain was just, squirrel, running off. And my mum would pick up after me, and my dad would always have a go at her. But my mum got it. She got that I can't help it. She knew there's something about my mum that she just had this gut feeling that something else is going on in Aaron's little head. So I'm going to try and make this life as easy as I can for him, and he'll manage the rest himself. But the traditional view is that, isn't it? It's like, get your room tidy. And I made this mistake with my son Cameron, because I hadn't been told really about acceptance, and I knew that I couldn't keep my room clean, so I wanted to raise my son to keep his room clean. Thankfully I decided to not be bothered anymore because it was too much for him. So how's the accepting view of tidying a room? This is what it would look like. You begin to think, so you accept the messy room, you accept that they're living in it, and you realize that they can't do it. They function okay. This is really important. They function okay and are happy in their messy room. Cameron was so happy in his room, in his messy room, and he was fine. It was me that wasn't fine. And it's odd, isn't it? And the moment this is what I'm saying to any of you amazing parents out there who are coming on here and listening to this some man talking about acceptance. Fair play for coming on. But it works, guys. It really does. It really is work. And it wasn't giving in when I was be like, okay, Cam, you don't need to tidy your room, mate. It's fine. And every now and then I'd go in and I'd pick up after him and help him. It doesn't matter, because he was happy. And this third one, I really did, and I'm being really honest with you here, because it's really true. A tidy room is more for me, not for them. And I think any parent out there who has an issue with, if your kid's okay with their room being in a mess, just maybe sit yourself down and say, I wonder if it's me then that's got the issue. Because a lot of kids with autism, their brains are so noisy that they don't even think about that. They're trying to manage everything else. And I just think an accepting view versus the traditional view to having a messy room, is just let them just do it. Just let them be in it. If they're happy, well, what's more important? And then as your acceptance of this room begins, you start to think, well, I'm going to help them. It's too much for them to cope with, so I'm going to make it easy for them, and I'm going to pick up. On the good days, I'm going to say, oh, can you, just shove your socks in that basket, or you work as a team, you collaborate with them, and it worked. It worked with my son. Oh, Cam, can I have that spoon, or can you pass me that, or why don't you just go and shove that in the sink? But on a bad day, never asked him. On the bad days, that's when you step up and be that amazing parent that cleans up their room for them. And trust me, any parent out there who's thinking, oh, I can't do that because that means I'm not a good parent. No, it's the other way around. If you're tidying their room for your kids and deep in your core and your being, they cannot process their room, you're being a fantastic parent, and you keep going, because that is what parenting an autistic child looks like, in my opinion. Right, so let's have a look at a third one. My child misbehaves at parties and always falls out with his friends. Okay, so let's this can relate to anything really, anything to do with social. I mean, but before I look at the traditional view, I've just noticed someone's put on about I'm not reading the comments, guys, at the moment, because I'm trying to stay focused, because I'm not having a very good day myself. So I'm trying to stay in the flow. But the key is, right, so whenever there's any social, so always remember, autism, ADHD, PDA, whatever it is that your children are having to manage, it is because they're socially disabled. That's all you need to have in your head. So what that basically means is, so what is socializing? Well, getting what you want from a situation, isn't it? Being able to communicate what you want and say what you want and act how you want, and be able to respond to how someone else is responding to you, or to know why someone's acting a certain way. God, the complexities of socialness is just mind-blowing. But if you remember and try and stop yourself whenever your kid is struggling with, or arguing on their siblings, or punching you, or screaming around the streets, whatever it is, think to yourself, well, they're socially disabled, they can't help it. And then once you stop there, you step back and you'll start to think of different ways of looking at it. Because like I said, scientifically now, we do know the moment you can change your brain, and I'm not saying, yeah, I can do it. I struggle all the time, and I'm coming in late to this. As a teenager and as a child, I didn't have any of this stuff in my head. I was just bad and wrong and selfish and rude. That's all I ever got told. So I think I'm an older man trying to understand acceptance, but I'm getting there. But with your kids, there's hope for them, that you can train your children to accept themselves for who they are, and you as parents can start to do what I'm trying to do, accept myself and know that it's not my fault and it's not your fault, and blah blah blah. I hope I'm making sense. But socially disabled, that's what you got to remember. So don't expect your children to act socially right, if that's the right term, to know what someone's thinking, to know when someone is playing with a toy and they want it. Guys, it's not about you teaching your child, don't snatch. No, it's not. Your child is socially disabled. They just want that toy. They're not thinking, oh, little Johnny, I'm going to smack him around the face and get that little toy truck off him. No, they're not at all. They just want the toy truck. And that in itself is not naughty, is it? It's socially disabled. They're socially disabled. He doesn't know that Johnny is playing with that toy. And yes, you can teach them, especially when they're younger. But what I'm trying to say is the beginning point of all this is if you as an adult go, that's not his fault, he's just hit Johnny. He wants the toy. He's not understanding socially how to think, oh, okay, well, I'll wait till Johnny's finished with the toy. And if you begin there, you will start to find ways of how you can teach him or show him, or maybe talk to Johnny. Johnny, I don't know. Guys, I haven't got all the answers, but I just know the moment you accept, there are things you can do with him, but it's not, I can't talk about it tonight because I'll lose my train of thought. Right, so... And just drop me an email if you need any more specific stuff from me. I am here to help if I can. Going back to the child. Okay, so parties, misbehaving, all that kind of stuff at parties. So what's the traditional approach? Well, it's this, isn't it? It's well, I need to teach them how to be with other people. He needs friends. It's proper to have friends. He has to learn to be more social and to cope. And you have to prepare them for adulthood. This is the traditional view, isn't it? I love this cartoon here. Not sure if I hate parties or just hate everyone at parties. Sometimes that's me. I don't hate parties. I go into this weird and this is the thing for me. Like, I go, not all the time, sometimes I'm fine, and as I was growing up I would have to drink loads to be able to socialise, and I never knew why I struggled with it, but I'd always stand in a corner and I'd always find my peace wherever. Even if I go to a pub now, I have to find a certain corner where I can see the room, I can see what's happening, and it's so complex what goes on in my head just to go out and I don't do it as much now, or I'll look for a log fire. That's my kind of thing, a country pub where everyone's quiet and there's music, but it's quiet. I hope that makes sense. Noisy now, rowdy pubs, no, keep me away. Okay, so yes, sorry, I'm going off on one now. So what's the accepting view? So the traditional approach to a child who's kicking off in parties and just running riot is to expose them to it, teach them to do this and to improve. But an accepting view, well, looks a little bit different. So again, acceptance, practical, can't even get my words out. Practical acceptance is knowing it's not their fault. So that's where you start. And then as that happens in your head, whatever's going on in the party, your kids, I don't know, running riot, nicking all the cakes, and all the other children are screaming because your child's the demon child. Just step back and go, in your mind, they can't help it. And then you start to think, actually, does it really matter if they don't go to a party? They don't really like them, so maybe I'll stop taking them. It's hard for him to make friends because actually he probably prefers to be on his own more than having friends, or he doesn't need to learn to be social. Actually, we need to learn to be in his world more than he needs to be in ours. And that was a big thing for me. I remember when I was a little kid, again, I'm being quite open here, and when I had a lot of psychiatrists as a young child, and I remember one I remember one psychiatrist that said to me, my mum and dad had split up, and oh God, all the hell had broke loose. And I remember him saying, he said, Aaron, here's the thing that I want you to remember: your parents need to come into your world. You don't have to be expected to be in their world. And I never forgot that. I didn't really understand what he was on about, but I do now. And I always think that whenever Cameron or Lily, we had to pick Lily up, we dropped Lily off at her friend's today. Within 10 minutes, she's texting Mom, can you come and get me? My tummy hurts and my stomach hurts. And we know we drop everything and go and get them. Some parents, in the traditional view, you would say, no, you're at your friends, you stay there, I'm having a few hours on my own. We can't do that with our kids, and it's not the right thing to do. And so we got Lily, and we actually got her friend, and we went to the park, walked the dog, had some fun, and then she came back here for a bit. Now Lily's happy watching YouTube, whoever Wenji is, and she's happy because we know, okay, that's an accepting moment. We're going to need to go and get Lily because her stomach pains are we think her anxieties. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. Right, so the accepting view, and yeah, like I just said, it is fine if your children don't go to parties. It really is. Right, So they were the 3 examples I had. I'm gonna hope you don't mind, guys. I'm not gonna read too much because I'm actually on my last legs trying to do this, and I'm doing it. I don't have to do this, do I? I'm doing it because you guys inspire me, and I enjoy it, and I just want to make some help out there a little bit, and spread the accepting vibe. Hats off to Sir Ken Robinson, who unfortunately passed away. He's another guy that just wanted to talk about acceptance all the time, and yeah, it's always the good ones, isn't it? So let's have a look a little bit more about acceptance. So I love this. Of course, there is no formula for success in anything, basically, except perhaps an unconditional acceptance of life and what it brings. I know that's quite generalized, but that is what it's about. If we can get to that point where we accept what's going on, it's so much better than the traditional approach where you're banging your head on a brick wall, freaking out all the time because you're trying to do this and discipline and do that, and it's just... Whereas if you accept your kids for who they are, that's when the change occurs. The more you practice acceptance, the easier it becomes to support your autistic child. You will stop trying to change them, and you focus more on being okay with who they are. To accept things, you are giving permission to be as they are, feel what they feel, or have experienced what you've experienced without creating unproductive shame or anxiety. Guilt's a big one in kids, and especially in parents. Guys, if you can master the accepting thought process, you will eradicate guilt and anxiety. I promise you. The pain might still be there, but some of the suffering will be alleviated. And here's an important thing about acceptance. It's a verb. It's an active process, one that must be practiced consciously. So it's about being aware of acceptance, and even just have the... I mean, like I say all the time, and I don't know if there's any new people on here. Hello, if you are on here. And, you know, so it is not their fault, and it is going to be okay. If you have that in your head constantly, it's just those 2 mantras. It's not their fault, and it's going to be okay. You start to then... acceptance starts to work in your life, and it can work really powerfully. Now, acceptance doesn't mean that you can't change anything or work on changing things. Many people believe that acceptance is a sign of apathy or passivity or giving up. It's not. Practicing acceptance does not necessarily mean you won't be able to make a change. You can accept your body and still change it. You can accept your emotions and acknowledge their impermanence, and accept your behavior one day when you might change it tomorrow. So what that basically means is kind of like whatever is going on, whether I'm trying to lose weight at the moment, and I'm always down on myself. Oh man, I've had a cookie today. I've had like 3 cookies today. It's Jane's fault for making them. But it's all right, isn't it? Because I'll just go back to the gym tomorrow, and my back I went running and my back went. So I just go down this spiral, and that's normal human behavior. But it's about trying to accept, you know what, it's all right. I fell asleep for about 3 hours today. It's okay. That's where my head is. It's all right. I hope this is all kind of making sense, guys. Acceptance is a willful and courageous action. It's an active dialogue. There is nothing passive about it. It's not a fleeting thought. It's a hard commitment. And that's why it's so difficult, but also that's why it's so powerful. And my son's 21 now, and he accepts who he is. He struggles. I'm not saying he doesn't struggle, but you know what? He's 80% better than when I was 21 and I was a complete mess. I hated myself. He doesn't, because we drilled it all into him about acceptance. Right, that's it. That's my my last weekly session, guys. I hope it's been okay for you lot. And yeah, apologies for not. Let me just have a little scan through. Thank you for staying on and saying hello. Oh, hey Natalie, how are you? It was really awesome yesterday. And then I feel like I'm having to make excuses. Yeah. I'll just share a few thoughts here. Since you came over yesterday, and I'm struggling to get them to understand acceptance. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's really hard, Natalie, and you just got. You just got to see, if you know what, here's the thing, right? So if as a parent we worry more about what our friends and family, and it's hard, I'm not saying it's easy, if we worry more about what they think, that we're always going to be in limbo, aren't we? Whereas if acceptance were, I believe, right, accepting children who are autistic, who have any socialisms, I believe as a professional and as a human, as a parent, with raising a kid with autism, that is the thing that works. Now, you might not believe, that might not be for you, but that's what I think, and it's kind of, for me, I saw a profound change in my children and in the kids I work with in schools. So I'm always going to sit on it. And so, a lot of the time that people don't understand, it's probably because they weren't accepted as kids. They don't understand it, and practical acceptance is difficult. But try and focus, Natalie, on what you and your husband think, and if it works for you and your family, that's so much more important than what others think. And yes, that's horrible if people disagree, and I'm sorry that was a tricky one for you today. What else have we got here? There's a lot of new people on here. Hey guys, usually I'm very bubbly and mad, so I'm a little bit quiet today, so bear with me. I hope you're all okay, and thank you for coming on, whoever's new here. Samantha Gold, will this be recorded? I'd like to get others to watch too. Yeah, what I do is generally will upload this onto YouTube and I'll share it, or I leave it on Facebook anyway, but this one I'll be putting on the YouTube. Hey Laura, my son is getting very abusive to his younger brother, struggling to know what to do, can't accept this behaviour. Yeah, the quickest bit of advice I can give you with behaviour is it's a 3-step thing. So you look at what's happened before, what's happened during, and what's happened after. And the being abusive to your younger brother, if you can try and record it and track what's happening, and then the more skilled you get at doing that, then you'll start to see what you can prevent from happening. So for example, you've got an autistic child, and leaving them, you may find, I don't know, it's difficult, Laura, because I don't know your children, but you might find that they're always having fights on the TV or playing Xbox. Well, then you'll start to learn, okay, they want to play the Xbox. You'll be clued up because you're thinking it's not their fault, because that is really important. I know it really isn't. If he's autistic and he's kicking off and he's getting angry, it's because he's socially disabled. He struggles to communicate and understand it the way that you think he should. But what you can do is, the more you do this track thing and keep an eye on it, is you can think, right, they want to play Xbox together. Okay, so how do we manage that? And you and your family need to maybe just coming in. So you're in the kitchen, they're playing. Give it 2 minutes instead of 10 minutes before you go in and say, how you doing, guys? How's things? Sit in the middle of them, play around. If you start to see a bit of a disruption going, try and diffuse it by distracting them. I'm going to make some cakes. Do you want to come and help me? I don't know. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, so look at what happened before, what's happened during. So in the moment, what is going on, and then what happens after. Because a lot of our kids, they will have these massive meltdowns afterwards. And if they do have a massive meltdown afterwards, then definitely that it's because they're not coping very well with stuff. I hope that helped, Laura. Sorry, again, these little lives are just me trying to share some thoughts, and then you guys can go off and do what you want with them. Autism, mixed teenagers equals messy rooms. Just shut the door. Yeah, as long as it doesn't smell. Sometimes I used to have to go and shut the door and open the windows. That was a big thing. Hey Fiona, how are you? Yes, hello Mimi, I've not seen you before. How are you? I try and avoid social stuff, hate it. Fair play that you get that. Awesome. Hi Amy, hello. We stopped making them go to parties years ago. Not worth the upset. No, it's not. It's really nice, guys, for you all to say these comments, because it really helps other parents on here, because you're not alone. Damn, you looked at, see, this is the problem with me. I can't hide emotions. Yes, I'm having a really difficult day today, but it's all good, because I can go straight to sleep after this, and a new day tomorrow and all that. Nikki, Jane's cookies are amazing. Well, no, they're not, because it makes me put on 2 stone. But yes, they are amazing. Is Cameron on here? Ha! Here he is. God, I forget every time when you go live. Do you know what? Yesterday, I got all excited and he's going to come round our house, we're going to hang out. And he rings me, oh, don't worry, Dad, my friends needs me. Whatever. Sarah, hello. I'm just going to read this. So how does this process work when my autistic child is punching, slapping, biting and spitting at his 5-year-old sister to the point that she doesn't want to live at home anymore? Yeah, it's really hard. Can't really answer that right now. I think what would I always try to think on these things, guys, what I would do. I think there's a lot going on there. I think you have to think about your daughter and the stress she's going through, because you don't want her stressed out. I would always be trying to, there's something going on there, isn't there? Whether, you know, and I don't know your child, so it's quite difficult to be able to give you some strategic things here. But I think if you do think it's not his fault, then it will alleviate your stress. Because if he's autistic and he's got ADHD and he's struggling emotionally, then it definitely isn't his fault. And it's about you trying to, again, I hope I've come across here this way. Try the traditional approach, and if that doesn't work, try the accepting approach. It may help you and your family. It may not. I don't know your family, but I just think for me, with children that are fighting and getting aggressive, it's about low arousal. And again, I can't go into too much here, but I would look at Bo Elving, Sarah, if you do know of, or Ros Green with an E. They're the two guys for me that I go to when there's a lot of anger issues in children, and I'm thinking, how can I help this? Generally speaking, you know, it's about you as a family trying to ease that conflict as much as you can, and that's really tricky. And it's about meeting the need of your son and your daughter, and I really feel for you, Sarah, and I hope it does ease. I do see in the years I've been a professional in this field that children who do kick and bite and they grow out of it. Yes, it turns into teenage smelly room itis and all that, but it won't be forever. So if that's any word of encouragement to you, Sarah, I hope that's helped. But yes, Ros Green, Bo Elvin, look at the low arousal approach to behavior. Right then, let's kind of, I'm gonna kind of thanks Fiona, how are you? I'm still coming on, like I say, once a month. You guys just don't need to see me every week. And I think if I do it monthly, it gives me a chance to kind of, I want to grow this channel. Never really goes over 30 odd people, which is great, but I want to reach as many as I can if I, you know, with this, because I just think it's a lot of people want to hear it. So I think if I do it monthly, then it's going to give me a chance to promote it a bit more, and also give you more interesting content. Lee Burden is coming on for the one in September. I'm going to get him to dress up as a clown. Not really. That would be funny, actually, wouldn't it? Shall I tell him? He's got to dress up as a clown. Mimi, so glad I tuned in, needed to hear this. Oh, thanks. I'm glad I came on. Hey Saj, how are you? Thank you for taking the time out to make these lives. Continue being amazing. These lives help so much. Oh, awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate your comments. Since going vegan, I smell like sunshine and rainbows. No need to open the... Oh, that... yeah, whatever. Well, Cam, if your room smells of sunshine and rainbows, that's awesome, because mine hasn't today. Oh, hey, Asima. I hope I pronounced that right, Asima. I love listening to your videos. Thank you. Right, and so... seems to be a lot of hi Juliet, thank you for coming on. My son is 21 and he's still displaying aggressive meltdowns, hitting, throwing, biting. Again, you know, it's a common thing, isn't it, with autism? Because what is going on with hitting and biting and meltdowns? They're communicating a distress, aren't they? That's basically what it is. They're trying to communicate something to us, and because they're socially disabled, they're not able to do it the way we think they should. And that's all I'm trying to get you guys to start at. That's your starting point. Oh, he can't help it, it's not his fault. And then from there, you'll start to kind of process it differently. I really hope you can, because, you know, the other options are just not very nice either, are they? And yeah. So, hello, Holly. How are you? Are you sending a link to someone or something? Nice to see you. Right then, guys, I'm going to go. Thank you very much. And I hope that has been an engaging video. So that is... what it's all about. acceptance. I'm a big fan. I love it. And yeah. So what's all this acceptance stuff about? Hopefully I've covered that. So yeah, I'll put a post online when I'm going on again in September, and I'm hoping that it'll be longer and lots more different content and stuff, because I'll be able, through the month, I'll be able to kind of create a lot more stuff for you guys to share and things. So thank you very much. Hope it's helped. And again, as always, if you need some specific help, drop me a message on here and I'll do the best I can to help you if I can. All right.